Where there is class, clean lines and elegance, not much else is needed because less is more. And Michael Schmidt has made this his philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to introduce you to Y7, the 70-footer by Yachts. Welcome to the boat show. Bill Tripp's design was based on a specific idea, a technologically advanced hull that was as simple as possible. The deck plan and all its solutions are designed to make the experience on board easy and enjoyable, just as a beautiful day sailing would. From the stern area, you can perceive the easy sailing soul of the Y7, meaning few simple yet effective elements. The backstay has been removed thanks to the back spreaders. This is not a rig to go out and brave the perfect storm, but it is rather perfect for sailing solo or in good company. If the needs were a little more pretentious, we would need the option of runners that would be handled by this first stern winch, also used for the furling sails or the jennica. The only access to the tender garage is from the deck, thanks to a hydraulic hatch that fully opens. The space of the aft locker is really large, and the fact that there is no direct connection with the sea is a plus for onboard safety. Here you can store motorised tenders up to 3 metres long because it takes advantage of the full beam stowage capacity, thereby limiting the longitudinal depth of the aft locker. But without opening to the sea, how do you launch the tender? It's easy, like this, by using the boom and the topping lift as a block and tackle. Here it is. The life rafts have their own dedicated deep and accessible lockers in the cockpit. The wheelhouse is very simple and equipped with intuitive and minimal push-button panels and screens for navigation data, which are also shown at the edge of the guest cockpit and, of course, at the mast. From this area you can handle the whole boat, and we are talking about a 70-footer. All the rigging is carried over the single pair of winches used for adjustments, and that, as well as the stoppers, are within reach of the helmsman. The guest cockpit is a fully independent area, and the access to the crew quarters is separated so the crew doesn't have to pass by during manoeuvres. 2 telescoping folding down tables also allow passage to the hatchway when open. The area is covered by a retractable spray hood and by this distinctive superstructure. The hardtop has been a hallmark of Michael Schmidt's designs. On sailboats, it's almost never seen, but it must be said that it is comfortable and overall does not detract from the sinuous lines of the entire deck design. It is made of a single carbon mast, suitable to withstand over 45 knots of wind. It can be removed, but it is only extendable and not disassemblable. So once the poles are extracted from their housings, it needs to be unloaded. Solar panels can be fitted here, which can produce up to 40 ampere hours at steady state when the boat has an average consumption of 20 ampere hours. This is an aspect that demonstrates how important it is for Yachts to have a comfortable experience on board. There are 2 steps that facilitate the passage from the stern to the bow. The coach roof is set up as a huge sun deck. The windowing, which surrounds the entire coach roof by 180 degrees, has such an angle as to limit direct sunlight from entering below deck, which, in addition to evenly diffusing light below deck, maintains an internal temperature 4 degrees lower than a normal sloping window. The deck plan is very simple: a traveller for the auto-furling jib, 2 tack points for the trysail and staysail, a bowsprit without a bobstay or downfucker, an integrated anchor windlass, and a hydraulic tack point for the furling sails that, if necessary, can be the tack point for the tack of the jennica. One thing I really appreciate is the very high gunwale, which is very safe when sailing. I like the end of the traveller sticking out of the deck a little less. Here, you have to be careful if you go around barefoot. Below deck, the design, signed by Norm Architects Studio, amazes with its simplicity and, at the same time, completeness. One realises that one is aboard a boat and not a house, as is now the vision of many designers. The flooring that follows the lines of the hull, the handrails that are no longer hidden but shamelessly declared, the absence of the superfluous to make room for the essential, expressed in the most elegant form. All this makes you realise that in boating, as in life, sometimes little is needed to be able to achieve excellence in form and substance. Heading down to the dinette area, the window allows for a 180-degree view of the deck. The settings appear to communicate with one another. The exteriors blend with the interiors, providing a sea life experience even below deck. Since I'm not that tall, I have to stand on my tiptoes to look at the view. In fact, the engineers involved in the design succeeded in lowering the level of flooring by seeking maximum interior volumes. In order to do this, they found some very interesting solutions, such as dual motors. Two smaller engines take up less volume than a larger one, and they are very safe. Two nanny engines with a combined output of 80 horsepower are housed in the engine room. If the interior seems very simple to you, under the flooring the structure is technologically very advanced, and so is the insulation. Listen. There is no noise. The layout of the boat we are testing was based on the owner's specific requests, but there are other options. This one is set with a master cabin at the bow, a central king-size bed, anti-roll covers, a tasteful, minimal and practical furniture details. The dedicated bathroom is of excellent size. Amidship there is the passing mast. On the starboard side there is the kitchen, and on the port side there is a studio. On the slightly raised floor level there is the dinette with seating, a table and an optional chart table to starboard. A large sofa with a pop-up TV is located on the port side. When I say large, I really mean it. On the port side at the stern, a double guest cabin with a dedicated bathroom is connected to the crew quarters. On the starboard side, there is a similar cabin with a dedicated bathroom and a separate box shower. Now you got to see the boat inside and out, but that's not enough, because you are aware that at the boat show we thoroughly test them, even in the most extreme conditions, such as this one, with no wind. Today we are in Marina Cala dei Mici at Ocean Freedom. Nature has decided to give us these conditions, but this is the prerogative of YACHTS, classic boat with clean lines that is also very technological. In fact, it is entirely made of carbon fibre, making it very light. And when others unfurl the sails and start the engines, we keep the sails up and we sail. We are sailing close-hauled with an auto-furling jib and full batten mainsail with a square top. We're at 30 degrees with respect to the apparent wind direction, 2.3 pressure knots and 1.5 speed knots. Now, before opening the furling sail, we must understand how the boat is made underwater. There is a double rudder with a 3.5 metre fixed keel or a 2.7 to 4 metre telescopic keel. When sailing with the code 0, there is more evident reaction. You can feel the acceleration with every little gust of air. Let me give you some data. There are 2.4 knots of real wind, and we are at 2.3 knots of speed. Wonderful!
In realtà il dislocamento a vuoto del Y7 è dichiarato poco meno di 30 tonnellate.
Actually, the empty displacement of the Y7 is stated at just under 30 tons. This is not a hyper-light racing boat figure. What does it mean? That the water lines and the hull were designed and engineered with one goal in mind: to sail this boat as easily as possible so that we can enjoy alone or in company what we all love more than anything else: simply sailing.
Semplicemente andare in barca vera.